r/askreddit. What's the dumbest thing you have ever said on a date? Wanting to compliment on my date's intelligence, I said, I have met stupider girls than you, so you are really okay. Hey look, you have a nervous tick. Oh, it's getting worse. I was on a first date with a guy I really liked. Everything was going great, and we ended up making out on the couch. I pulled away for a moment to say something sweet, but all that came out was, "You smell like laundry detergent." I flew to London to see a girl, and when we finally get around to making out, she says, "You smell like this bush in Chicago that I hate." I was so confused. After a night out with this girl I've been courting, we went back to my place and started fooling around. We got into my room, where she knelt down and began to take my pants off. Once I was naked, she said, "Wow, you're really big." Trying to be humble, I responded, "Nah, I've seen bigger." It was very awkward. Met a guy on vacation, chatted online for a while, liked each other, decided to have our first real date. While eating, guy told me a story about the time his father shoved a cat in a pillowcase and slammed it into the pavement until it went retarded. Told him his story was horrible and to stop talking. He apologized. Tried to make me feel better by reassuring me that afterwards, his father bashed its head in with a shovel. So, your profile picture, was that your sister or something? Visiting Manhattan, watching a Rangers game in a bar by myself. Cute girl comes up and starts chatting with me, mentions that she's Dominican. I don't remember my exact words, but I somehow brought up cholera in the first 30 seconds and that was that. Best story I ever heard was something my friend did at the end of a date. My friend went on a date with a girl to see Captain America. She had drove, and when she dropped him off at the end of the night, she leaned in for a kiss and he wasn't sure how to respond, so he gave her a thumbs up. This was more just me hanging out with a girl I had been dating for a little while. We were talking, and she brought up the fact that her biological father was a sperm donor. We had already talked about this before, and I didn't really have anything particular to keep that conversation going besides. That really increases your chances of accidental incest, you know. A guy told me he associated red hair with incest because he came from a small town where it was apparently impossible for the ginger kids to avoid sleeping with a cousin or two. Right after he had complimented my very ginger hair. Super smooth. I was at my ex-girlfriend's house and she broke up with me. I pretty much begged, and while begging, used a phrase that will haunt my manhood and the manhood of every man in existence. I used a phrase that should only be used for the most manly of times. Put me back in the game, coach. I've since grown bigger balls. Dude. One time I was kind of on a hangout date with a girl and we were watching a movie over at my apartment. We were holding hands and she started innocently stroking my arm. She asks, "How do you get your skin so soft without missing a beat?" I reply with a whisper, "I bathe in virgin's blood." Later I found out that she was, in fact, a virgin. A friend of mine pulled a Ted and said "I love you" on the first date with a girl he barely knew. I got this, fellas. Sit back. I asked a blind date if she had any cute single friends.